This very program is brought to you by our good friends at the Barbecue Pit Stop. Hey, we were at every barbecue pit stop yesterday, dropping off enter to win boxes for the BYU Notre Dame drive-away to see BYU at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas taking on Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish in the Shamrock Series win a trip 4-2, including 2 nights at the Palms Resort and Casino, as well as 2 tickets to the game and a $250 gas card, thanks to our friends at Barbecue Pit Stop. Any store, so whether that is Logan, beautiful store in Logan.
Yes.
For Barbecue Pit Stop. If you're up in northern Utah, stop by the Logan store. They have an actual full-time butcher.
They're pretty for real.
Yeah, that works at the Logan store. He can cut meat for you right there on the spot. So not only do you get a smoker, all the seasoning, the pellets, anything you need, you also get your cut of meat at Barbecue Pit Stop in Logan, Lehigh, Layton, Salt Lake City, and St. George. And every one of those stores has an enter to win box on the counter where you can fill out a slip, drop it in the box, and you could win a trip for 2.
Do it.
To see BYU and Notre Dame in the Shamrock Series in Las Vegas on October 7th and 8th, all courtesy of our friends at Barbecue Pit Stop, as well as Academy Mortgage and Devery Davis. Hey, by the way, did you guys see that mortgage rates are down and prices of homes in our state are plummeting? So you can afford to buy a house. That's why you're going to call Devery Davis, 801-543-9666, NMLS number 278-545. Academy Mortgage and Devery Davis are equal housing lenders. Let's get to work on the Utah Utes. Where are the Utah Utes headed? That seems to be the question as we deal with Pac-12. Are they expanding? Is the Pac-12 contracting? Is the Pac-12 going away? And I think one of the real victims in all of this is the University of Utah, coming off of inarguably their best season and their most successful season as a member of the Pac-12. It would seem that the rug has been yanked out from under the feet of the Utes again, because USC and UCLA have decided to head for the Big Ten. So the question is, what is the best course of action for the University of Utah now? And Jake, I don't think there is any doubt their best course of action is getting out of the Pac-12 as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I think that that's on many different levels. I think, the one everyone always talks about is like revenue per school and how much money can you make and how can you directly benefit from, switching conferences from a financial, standpoint. I also think another layer to this, though, is Utah's reputation and what they've built over the last decade with Kyle Whittingham and this program. And I think for Utah specifically, this is something that I think really matters. That, you don't want to just go to, not that they're ever going to be in the Mountain West, as an example, but the Mountain West is something people have been talking about. You don't want to go to the Mountain West and be playing with some of those schools. That's not, you're above those schools. You're better than those schools. I think the best course of action.
But are you?
Yeah, I think you are.
Because I think this is a really important point that you're going to make right here.
Yeah.
Give me the value proposition. If you are the University of Utah, what is your value proposition right now? If you're out there selling yourself to the Big 12, what is your value proposition?
Well, if I'm selling myself to the Big 12, the value proposition is I was just in the Rose Bowl. I'm a relevant team. I've been competing over the last 3 to 4 seasons in the college football playoff, or like to get a spot in the college football playoff, that is. And I can make money for you. I truly believe that's the value proposition. Another standpoint that I'd be coming from if I was the Utes trying to sell myself to the Big 12 is I'd be saying, hey, look what we've accomplished without any type of TV deal or any type of distribution deal. What would we be if we had, an ESPN, relationship? Or what would we be if we were on DirecTV every single week? Well, I think that obviously it's hard to say exactly what you'd be, but I think we can all agree that the Utah Utes would be a higher profile program if they were being watched nationally every single week. And that's why, to me, I think it's incredibly impressive what they've been able to do from a national branding perspective. And so that's why I say if I'm selling myself to the Big 12 and I'm the Utah Utes, that's my angle. I'm saying, hey, we just did all this. We just went through a ton of adversity. We are bowl team caliber in your conference. What else do you need to know? Because all the Big 12 cares about is making money at this point, right? Like surviving, but then ultimately making money and making the conference better. What better way to improve a conference than to say, hey, yes, we win, we make you money, and what else is there? That's what I think.
Well, and I think very clearly the proposition that Utah offers to the Big 12, because also in my opinion, the Big 12 is the only destination for the University of Utah. I think the proposition that Utah brings is they could arguably say they're the best football program in the Big 12. I mean, if you look at what Utah's accomplished over the last decade, building up to a Pac-12 championship this past season and a berth in the Rose Bowl where you took Ohio State's best punch and damn near beat them.
Yeah.
My argument would be, hey, we're one of the best football programs in the country. We have one of the best football coaches in the country. We put guys in the NFL. I think if you put Utah in the Big 12 right now, they can compete at the top of that conference.
All gas, no break.
Well, yeah, there's no ramp-up period, which, by the way, if you're a Big 12 member, maybe that's not exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you don't want, hey, those Pac-12 a-holes to come in here and run our conference. Well, if you bring Utah in, I think there's a real good chance that Utah is one of those teams that comes in and runs your conference. So I don't know that that's a good thing or a bad thing or otherwise, but I also think the Florida game is a huge game for Utah.
Yes.
And I know that we're a month away from that or whatever it is now, but if you're the Utah Utes, you have to run the table. You have to be impressive. You are no different than where BYU was a year ago.
Thanks.
You are no different than where BYU's been for that same decade that you were enjoying lackluster income in the Pac-12 and BYU was fighting for legitimacy. That's kind of where you're at right now. And if I am Kyle Whittingham in the Utah football program, I am doing everything that I can do to prove my point that you are the best, most desirable team in the Pac-12. Whether you are or not is almost insignificant. You have to make the case that you are, and I think part of your brand is, hey, look what we just did last season. Because Utah had its best season in the Pac-12. That's not even a conversation point.
Yeah.
But everything that this team has been through in the last 2 years, through the period of time where everybody got stuck in the armor, well, not everybody, some people and others, Anyway, the point is, what you've been through the pandemic, what you've been through all of the ups and downs in the Pac-12, and you've persevered, and you are now playing at your peak. I think you have to make that case right now because I think that Utah is a great program and they deserve Big 12 football. That's where they belong.
And I think for the Big 12, the other consideration is you're trying to compete with these other conferences. Like, you're trying to compete with the Big Ten. You obviously, and it's a farther stretch, but you'd want to compete with the SEC. Now, you're not there yet. Obviously, the SEC is the best conference in the country. Nobody doubts that. That's not even in dispute. But I think if you're the Big 12, you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, Utah just competed with Ohio State to Ohio State's limit. Like Utah's a good program. Now, they may not get the national recognition that an Oregon does because Utah doesn't have Phil Knight. Utah doesn't have the Nike money, the Phil Knight connection. So that helps Oregon a lot. But I just think that there's this dynamic at play for Utah where if they had a distribution deal, if more people on the East Coast in that portion of the country knew just how damn good the Utes were, they would be a more dominant program. And that's what I think if I'm the Big 12, I just can't turn my back on that. And as far as Utah coming in and winning, look, that would be better than Utah coming in and just tanking, like from a value perspective. So I just don't think that winning football games is never a bad thing in my opinion.
Yeah, totally agree with that. All right, let's get your comments in here. No doubt about it, Spencer Morgan with the best comment today. He says, LOL at today's thumbnail. Who makes the thumbnails for this show, Jake?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to talk to the intern, bro.
Yeah,
casual.
Yeah, Mrs. Monty makes the thumbnails.
Yeah, no, I make the thumbnails, and I'm glad you laughed at it.
The dogs, they make the thumbnails.
Right.
Jesse Harsh gives us a $2 super sticker. Appreciate you, Jesse. Thank you so much. All of the donations that we get when you guys tip us on the show go directly into infrastructure of the show. They don't go into our pocket. So whether that is, recently better cameras or equipment or what have you, marketing dollars, you name it, everything you donate to this show goes right back into creating a better product. Appreciate that. Excuse me. Jesse says, happy Tuesday, everyone. Hey, what's more likely, Utah making the playoffs or BYU making a New Year's Six this year? Also, what's your season prediction for both teams? I think both teams have a very difficult schedule.
Yeah.
I would think more likely, I would think Utah making the playoffs, because I still maintain, even though you are a Big 12 team, I think the thing you have to remember is you're not a Big 12 team yet if you're BYU. And one of the harsh realities for BYU is this is a very dangerous season. I mean, when you look at BYU's situation, you're not going into the Big 12 now. You're going into the Big 12 a year from now. And the painful truth is you have a lot of players on this BYU roster who will never play Big 12 football. You have a guy in Jaron Hall who arguably will never play Big 12 football. I mean, that's a guy that if he has a massive season, there's no reason that he would want to come back. I mean,
yep.
And then, again, I think everything that Utah is doing right now is, building off of the momentum he had last year. And there's no reason to think that this Ute program is going to take a step back, especially with Cam Rising now being the starting quarterback from the jump. And hopefully we're not going to see tragedy and heartbreak again in this program. I mean, I would think that you are on much better footing now than you've been at any point in your Pac-12 existence. I would think that it's a far better chance that Utah would make the college football playoff than BYU getting a New Year's Six, just because BYU's an independent. Their schedule is very difficult, in my opinion. So if I had to guess, I think you're looking at probably 2 losses for both clubs. And I think that Utah football is going to really have their hands full winning the Pac-12, because I'm also a guy who believes very heavily in Lincoln Riley. I think they've done a very good job at USC in the transfer portal. I think Caleb Williams has every reason to believe that he could and should win the Heisman Trophy. They are as talented. They have upperclassmen. I mean, USC is going to be very good, but Utah is going to be very good as well. And that game this year, by the way, is in Salt Lake City, if memory serves. There's every reason to believe that Utah will have every opportunity with the football in their hands to win the Pac-12 again. And I think there's a likelihood that happens. And I think they take another step forward. And I think they do wind up in the college football playoff.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. 100%. I would agree with that sentiment. The only other thing I would say is that I think Utah has better staying power from the injury standpoint. I think that Utah can withstand injuries a little bit better than BYU can. I think we saw that last year with Jaron going out. I think that really hurt BYU, and I think that, not that Utah has some quarterback farm up on the hill there, but I think that Utah just has more what I like to call staying power, the ability to just get through a couple of games here and there if Cam were to miss time or whatever, And so for me, I think it's definitely more likely that Utah makes the playoff than BYU getting to New Year's Six.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a slight or a knock.
No, not at all. I just think that's where the programs are at right now. But I do agree that BYU's season is hugely important. I mean, the last thing you want, and it's so funny how this dynamic is playing out, but the last thing you want for BYU and really for Utah in the same breath is to have some crap season. You can't afford that right now. That's not an option for either program. So,
no, it's not. And I think it is, what's the right way to say it? I think it is very difficult if you are Utah to enjoy what you had last year. It's unfortunately very difficult. One, I mean, the Pac-12 is not a deep conference, but you certainly have competition. There is no doubt about that. So it's never, you can't just say, okay, well, we won last year, let's have an off year. That's not possible. 2, you open up with Florida, which is an absolute ball buster of a game. 3, you're fighting for survival right now. I mean, if you are Utah, and I think this is a really important point. If you are Utah, you can't overvalue yourself. It's not possible. You cannot overvalue yourself. And when you look at where Utah is now, historically where Utah has been, they've always been the underdog. Whether it was the original BCS buster, whether it has been, finally winning a Pac-12 championship last year, whether it was finally winning in LA, back in the day, beating USC at the Coliseum, all of these major milestones in the Pac-12. And now it kind of feels like you fought all the way up the hill just to get, donkey stomp back down to the bottom.
Yeah.
And now you got to fight again out of the darkness. And it just continues, whether it is all the tragedy, the Jordan situation, the passing of 2 players, like just all of this nonsense and pain and ridiculousness that's going on at the conference level. You cannot possibly oversell yourself. Get out and market yourself. And I think Harlan's doing that. I know that they have had conversations with the Big 12, but keep your foot on the gas. Win games, lobby the Big 12 hard, and get out of the Pac-12 while you can. Because I got news for you. The Pac-12 is dying. There is no saving grace. Right now, you are relying and hoping on UCLA to stay in the conference.
Facts.
That's what you're hanging on to. Your lifeline is that maybe you can change UCLA's mind. That's your lifeline. That's not a lifeline. You're dead in the water. It's over, man. They have got to, in my opinion, Jake, pull the ripcord on the Pac-12 because there is no win.
Yeah, and I think that, and this is kind of what we talked about yesterday, but I think that, George Klafkoff did a great job of painting this, like, positive, like, hey, we're some great conference. We have all this value. We win multiple championships every year in badminton. Like, come on, dude. Like, the problem is that you don't make football programs money. That's the problem. You have done a poor job of distributing your product. And I think, yeah, you're in a bad spot. I think that if I'm Utah, yeah, I am trying to jump. I am trying to say, okay, yep, we need to get to the Big 12 as soon as possible because we're probably not Big 10 quality right now. But that's not going to happen for us, and we're definitely not SEC quality at this point. So the Big 12 is our Noah's Ark, if you will. It is our boat. It is our saving grace. It is our lifeline. It is where we need to go. And so that's why I say, whether you want to look at BYU or you want to look at Utah, that the schedule this year is hugely important. And yes, Florida is a ball breaker. Yes, it is. But also, and I'm a big believer in this, when you have tough times, like, yes, they are tough times, but they're also opportunities. What happens if you roll out and you beat Florida and then you're, 5-0 when you get through the first 5 weeks of the season? Like, who the hell knows, man? Like, that's the kind of opportunity you have right now.
I think when you look at this conference and you look at their schedule,
yeah.
This is Utah's schedule, as I have Phil Steele's Bible.
Phil Steele!
Which you still don't have a copy of.
Well, you have a copy, and that's what matters.
You understand that this is Phil Steele's 2022 college football preview.
Cocaine
right?
is a hell of a drug.
And you don't have one.
I know you love that thing.
So you essentially have no balls.
Right. Okay. Well, hey, it is what it is, man.
From the Bible. No, their schedule is at Florida September 3rd, 1 month from tomorrow.
Right.
Home for Southern Utah, home for San Diego State. Wales Regina is a huge game this year. Tell me San Diego State doesn't have something to prove.
I'm for real.
You're at Arizona State, Oregon State at home, at UCLA. Tell me UCLA doesn't have something to prove.
Yep.
Tell me UCLA doesn't have October 8th scheduled on their calendar when the Pac-12 champion Utah Utes come to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, they got that circled on the calendar.
Then you come home October 15th for USC before your bye week. And then you are at Washington State coming off of a bye. Then you are home for Arizona and Stanford, at Oregon and at Colorado to end the season.
You see what I mean?
I mean,
like yes, that is a difficult schedule, but at the same time, you have opportunity.
I think that's an incredibly difficult schedule. And I think it's an incredibly important year for the Pac-12. I think it's an incredibly important year for Utah. It truly is. Greg Hawkins, good morning to you, friend. He says it would help Utah's case a lot if they won another Pac-12 championship within the next 2 years. We can't grow our market substantially being out west, but we can make ourselves an attractive grab. I totally agree.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Wow. Wowzer. Look at Greasy Hands Auto Sean Butterfield with a $49.99 super sticker.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
And I think you also said earlier, Sean, he said, listen to Monty and Jake speak the truth while installing a lift on a Gladiator. Doesn't get better than that. As a BYU fan, I want Utah to land on their feet.
Okay, quick sidebar, just because I really appreciate you. Do you like Gladiators or Wranglers better? What's your preference?
And what shop do you work at?
Yeah.
What shop do you work at, Sean? Because we have a lot of Jeep friends. We're building a Jeep. So where do you work at? Let's toss you some business, my friend. Already read that one. Compass says Minnesota.
I don't know. I don't know what that means. I ain't got
Kurt
no
Myers
idea.
says morning, gentlemen. Let's see. Reese Relentless says rise and shine, boys. Kurt Myers says Dick Harmon really hurt Utah with his interview on Sports 365 podcast. BYU fans want Utah in the Big 12. I think they do.
Yeah.
I didn't see Dick Harmon on 365. So give me some details on that. Caleb says, announced on to the Heat, Mont. Don't think that's happening. Let's see. Dennis Levy says, are you nervous to play BYU? Vegas predictions. He gives us a $1.99 tip. Why would anybody be nervous to play BYU?
No, I think if you're, if you're anybody playing BYU, you're excited about that game. I think that once again, and I know I feel like this is very repetitive in college football, but again, the TV contract with BYU makes the game exciting, whether they suck or they're really good. Like, that's the exciting portion of it, that that 1 million people are going to watch the game. Like, that's exciting for college football players, and I think that to me, yeah, whether you win or lose the game, obviously that does matter, but in this part of the conversation, I don't even think it matters. I think that, kids are excited to fly all the way from the Midwest to Las Vegas to play in Allegiant Stadium. Like, I don't think if you were an athlete, would you be excited about that? Because I would. I'd be really excited about that. Now, if I'm at Notre Dame and I get to play in that stadium, several times a year, and then I get to go to Allegiant, that's a hell of a year, man. That is absolutely a hell of a year. And I think that, Notre Dame has obviously every single year has a lot to prove, being an independent and trying to be in the college football playoff every year. So that's why I say, again, I know we have two camps here, like the pro BYU and the anti BYU, and all I'm going to say is they just make you money, and for that reason alone, you like them.
BYU's schedule. Who's got a more difficult schedule, Utah or BYU? At USF, September 3rd. Baylor at home, at Oregon. By the way, September 17th at Oregon, we'll be at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh for a watch party. Everybody's welcome to come out. We're going to announce the winner of our BYU Las Vegas drive-away to see the Notre Dame game at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh September 17th.
Yes.
That day at Oregon, September 24th, Wyoming, the 29th, Utah State. October 8th is that game at Notre Dame, which is a home game for Notre Dame in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Then you turn around for Arkansas, good Lord, at Liberty, East Carolina, at Boise State.
Boise.
You can't just say it normally.
Boise.
Boise State.
Boise.
November 12th open, Utah Tech, Dixie State, and at Stanford.
Utah has a by far more difficult schedule.
You think?
Oh, yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a difficult schedule. For an independent?
That's BYU's seen tougher. I disagree.
I would agree with that.
That's not a difficult schedule. I think that's not a cakewalk, but that's certainly not even. I don't think that's in the same.
How many
realm.
teams have Oregon and Notre Dame on their schedule, and Arkansas, and
yeah, but in prior years you've had like LSU, and you've had like
sure, but your bye week is in November. That's a difficult schedule.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I disagree a little bit. I think, yes, you have good talent on that schedule, but that's a schedule that they should be at least 8-9 wins on that schedule.
Jesse Harsh says, I agree. Utah is their own worst enemy for the most part. There are trap games, Washington State and Arizona State, what they have struggled with in the past. Yeah, well, I hate the Friday night road game.
Yeah.
But that seems to be mitigated some. I don't know. You just got to win. You got to run the table. You got to win the big games. Absolutely. You have to win the big games because, excuse me, those are the games that people are going to watch. You got to beat USC.
Well, and with conference realignment, obviously that's just another layer on top of the usuals.
Yeah, you got to beat Florida. You got to beat USC. You got to beat Oregon. You got to beat Notre Dame. You got to win your marquee games. They've got to beat San Diego State.
Yeah.
They've got to beat San Diego State. Utah is a better team than Florida. You need to run the table. You need to be 3-0. But do you see what
I mean with their schedule? Like, you've got all these nameplates on your schedule. You've got, Florida. You've got, just great teams on your schedule. And that's why I feel like Utah's schedule is just deeper and a little bit more talented. That's what and I think, USC does have a hell of a lot to prove this year. You think that Lincoln Riley doesn't have a lot to prove this year? You got another thing coming. Dude left Oklahoma to come to the Pac-12 and now go to the Big Ten. And you think that this guy isn't going to come out trying to just torch people? Yeah, I think he is. And I think that Lincoln Riley is really fully aware of the USC-Utah rivalry and what all that entails. And I think games like, and we did confirm it's USC at Utah, right?
Yeah.
This year. So, going to Rice-Eccles in October is no joke. That is a difficult place to play. It's going to be a little bit colder, and that's a prove-it game, in my opinion, for SC.
All I'll say is you got to get to that SC game 6-0.
Yeah.
I mean, and you really should be able to. You're better than Florida, in my opinion. Southern Utah, San Diego State's the tough game. I mean, they are not going to be easy.
To me,
as you found out last year.
To me, the way I think this works is after Florida, let's see where you're at injury-wise. That's a good team. You're better than them, but that's a good team. Let's see where you're at injury-wise, number one.
Yeah.
Then you should be able to take care of, what was it, week 2?
Southern Utah.
Yeah, you'll take care of them.
San Diego State.
You should beat San Diego State.
Arizona State, you should crush Arizona State.
Yeah.
Oregon State at Rice-Eccles, you should win that game. You're better than UCLA. You should beat UCLA at the Rose Bowl. And then you come home October 15th before you bye to play USC.
Yeah.
And that's going to determine a lot of your path to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to determine that. I mean, that USC game's massive. The Florida game, I think, is massive. The San Diego, I mean, all these games, you look, there is not a consequential game of note that doesn't impact you in several different ways. I mean, you look at that Florida game is going to be on national TV. I look at the San Diego State. I mean, they're bucking for potentially entry into your conference that you're in now. Like, I mean, you just look at all this stuff, and I think it's one of those things where you just quickly realize that you have to prove a point every single week. If you're Utah, you have to prove a point every week. There's nothing else to talk about there. You just have to do it. Brad Smith, Buckeye fan here, was thoroughly impressed with Utah. Great athletes, just a tough team. Could see Utah running the Big 12 and would love to see that BYU game highlighted more, regardless if they jump. You need it.
Yeah.
You need it.
Another value proposition for Utah joining the Big 12.
Greg Hawkins says, last year we almost didn't get past Washington State. That game was terrible. One of the worst games of the year.
And that's what I mean. Like, when you just look at it on paper,
when
you look at it on paper, you're like, all right, yeah, they should handle this team or that team. But what does the injury front look like? What kind of football are you playing in week 4 or 5? That and that I think is really important. Like last year with all the adversity you had to fight through, that it was very much a week to week, how does the team feel type thing. And so I hope this year things are a lot smoother. I hope this year we see more consistency.
You certainly would hope so. I mean, you would certainly hope so. You know what? I just look at the Pac-12 and I think there's no staying in the Pac-12.
No.
Utah deserves better, frankly. I mean, Utah deserves better. If you look at conference realignment, and somebody was mentioning, I think it was Spencer Morgan. Where is Spencer Morgan's comment about Rutgers? Like, you look at Rutgers. What is Rutgers doing in the Big Ten? That's market size. That's all that is. That's footprint in a certain part of the country. Utah deserves better. I think their top of the mountain is the Big 12. I don't see any way the Big 10 adds Utah.
Yeah.
What sense does that make? Ask yourself that question. What sense does that make? Kenai Johnson says, what's better, going back to the Mountain West or going into independence if they don't get to the Big 12 or Big 10? Utah is not going into independence. It is, in my opinion, what I think will happen is Utah will get to the Big 12 because I don't see a way that teams are going to stay in the Pac-12. What is the best potential outcome if you stay in the Pac-12? $35-40 million a year per school?
Maybe.
You hope?
If you're being generous.
Right? And that's only if you add San Diego State, which you would only probably do because you need Southern California, which is why they're so desperate to keep UCLA in the conference, because it gives you Los Angeles. If you can offset the loss of USC, your premier program in the conference, by keeping UCLA and adding San Diego State, that makes a hell of a lot more sense, right? But that still doesn't get you to what most people think of the Big 12 is going to be $60 to $75 million per school per season. That doesn't get you anywhere near that.
Yeah.
And frankly, if USC is not in the conference and UCLA is not in the conference, I just don't think there's even a chance that you can survive.
Yeah.
If you keep UCLA and you add San Diego State, I think you can maintain. I don't think you're adding money. I don't think you're getting a substantial TV deal. Who's going to pay you for that? And by the way, what is even the term of that? What is the grant of rights? How long is that? If you're a Pac-12 president today and Kliavkov comes to you with a 10-year deal, are you signing a 10-year grant of rights?
Hell no.
That's suicide.
That
is financial suicide.
Because what reason have they given you? What would be the? Because it's not like as an example in the Big Ten. Let's even say in the Big Ten, there are certain things that you're gonna get. You know that you're gonna get revenue. You know that you're gonna get all of these things that come with the Big Ten. In the Pac-12, you don't get those things. You don't get the distribution deal. You don't get $75 million a year in school revenue. You don't get all these things, And most importantly, if I'm one of these Power 5 football programs, what I'm saying is, hey, the most important thing once we get a deal signed is our path to the college football playoff, because I guarantee you this, Utah does not want to go backwards. Utah does not want to all of a sudden, go to the Big 12 and then not have a path to the college football playoff. That they're not interested in that. So that's why I say their only option is the Big 12. Staying in the Pac-12, with all due respect to George and his buddies and the Stanford AD sitting up there on that podium taking questions. With all due respect, you're painting the conference in rose-colored glasses.
But
bro.
Isn't this the conversation? Look at Stanford. Stanford's a great example of this. Stanford, for those of you who don't know, Stanford is a small school. Stanford has a small fan base. Stanford has a small student body. Stanford has a small football stadium. Everybody wants Stanford, though. And why is that? Perception and brand. Stanford is one of the finest educational institutions in this country.
Here's the deal. I'm the best there is.
And so I go back to a school like Utah. Utah doesn't have half the brand that Stanford has. Is Stanford a more difficult educational institution? By some standards it is, but are you trying to sell me on the fact that Utah can't compete educationally? I think they can with any school in the country. Any school in the country. Are you trying to sell me that Utah can't compete with Stanford athletically? Well, I'm going to tell you you're completely wrong. Utah, the biggest issue for Utah right now? The basketball program has been crap for a decade.
Yeah.
It's not been good. But if you want to sell me on badminton championships, if you want to sell me on secondary sports, women's sports, non-Olympic sport, whatever you want to point to, Utah can compete on any level with Stanford, but Stanford will be a more attractive ad to any conference than Utah simply on brand alone. Brand power and marketing alone. And that's why I think if you're the athletic director at Stanford versus the athletic director at Utah, your job is exponentially more difficult at Utah because you just don't have your predecessor, Dr. Chris Hill, I think was not very good at his job. And when you look at the hesitation to invest money in Kyle Whittingham, you look at the hesitation to invest money in facilities, you look at the student body and alumni raising money to paint a warehouse roof, that's cool and all. It should have never come to that.
Yeah.
How long did we wait for the locker rooms, which were decrepit at one point? How long did we wait for ribbon boards and scoreboards? You just operated like you were Rutgers, when you're not Rutgers, you're flipping Utah. Like, it's so frustrating to me. And again, I'm probably more passionate about it than most people because I live here. The Utah Utes do not get the respect that they deserve on any level. Nobody has any idea the quality of human being that Kyle Whittingham is. Okay, nobody cares. Throw it out. Who cares? Okay, nobody has any idea the quality of football coach that Kyle Whittingham is.
Right.
Nobody has any idea the quality of education, the quality of facilities, the quality of lifestyle that you get as a college student at the University of Utah. Nobody has any idea about that. All people want to talk about is, nobody watches Utah. They're in the mountains. They're the Mormons in Salt Lake City. That's all you hear about.
Yes, it is.
Yet, what do you know about Stanford? Can you really sell me that flipping Cal is a better add to any conference than Utah is? Well,
obviously not.
Utah is not in Berkeley, San Francisco, Bay Area. That's the biggest issue. To me, Utah is a better ad athletically, academically, quality of life. You just don't have the regionality that Cal and Stanford have because they're in the Bay Area. I would still take Utah, and I've covered all three. I would take Utah 3 times before I would ever even answer the phone. If it says Cal athletic director on the caller ID, I'm not taking the call. I'm trying to get
what a loser.
I'm trying to get Harlan on the phone at Utah. Hey, tell them I'll never call them back. Right? Like, that's how passionately I believe that Utah's a better ad. But I think Utah will have to wait its place in line. And I think, unfortunately, that's going to damage your financial ability. If Utah gets into the Big 12, they're going to take less money for a long time.
Yeah.
They are not going to be a full share partner. They won't be.
But
why would, if you're the Big 12?
But everybody gets so hung up on this. Everyone gets so hung up on this.
They
it's
should,
the
though.
price you pay. It's the price you pay for switching conferences. Yes, it is a hefty price. However, you have a path to the college football playoff. You have long-term stability. You have exciting stuff inside the program, so your boosters are going to be more involved. The fan base is going to be more involved. You're going to sell out Rice Eccles more. Like, things are going to be happening. Now, that doesn't replace the money that you won't get on a lesser share. Totally agree. Totally get it. But the alternative is having yourself involved in a dying Pac-10 conference at this point, if you will. Looking, and I'm not even joking, looking at options like the Mountain West, which is not an option for Utah. Like, what other choice do you have? So let's stop complaining about less revenue and let's start looking at, hey, what are the opportunities we have to build the brand?
But I also think in the long run, there is no long run. That's the problem here. Like, it is, I think when we're talking about, as Kenai Johnson was saying, like, is the Mountain West a realistic destination for Utah? No, it's not.
No, hell no.
No, it's not.
No.
And the thing that I struggle with is Mark Harlan's got a huge hole to climb out of because the prior regime did not do a good job. And I know I took a lot of heat when I was on 1320K Fan for saying that and criticizing Utah athletics. They did not do a good job. And I think Mark Harlan actually has his head and his heart in the right place and is diligently working to do a better job for long-term prosperity.
Yeah.
But in college athletics, there is no long-term prosperity right now. So you have to act, in my opinion, you have to look at this in 5-year windows. Your best bet over the next 5 years is to get the hell out of the Pac-12.
Yes, it is.
That's the bottom line. Because even if the Pac-12 survives, you can't tell me you're going to have streaming deals. You can't tell me you're going to have TV deals. You cannot tell me that you're going to have the exposure for your secondary programs. Basketball, perfect example. Do you want to play Kansas twice a year, or do you want to play Arizona State twice a year in basketball? Nobody knows that Arizona State has a basketball program. Nobody cares about Cal basketball. Nobody cares about Oregon State, Washington State basketball.
Bro, the biggest thing for Arizona State basketball in the last 5 years was Remy Martin transferring.
I'm fired up about
Where did
this,
he transfer to? I'm pretty sure, and I can verify.
I want to say Kansas.
I'm pretty sure he transferred to Kansas. This ain't even a conversation.
If you are Utah, there's every reason to go to the Big 12.
And
every
he
reason.
will every single time.
Greg Hawkins says, Mark Harlan seems much more committed to getting Utah athletics to a high level. Chris Hill did some good things, though. At least he made the McBride, Urban Witt, Majerus hires. Well, but did how do I phrase this? Did Dr. Chris Hill, prick, did he support? I am no Chris Hill fan at all. Chris Hill and I had one conversation, and I swore to myself after that conversation I would never speak to him again, and I didn't. And I am just not a Chris Hill fan. But
look, hiring people and hiring names, to Greg's point, yeah, sure, those are nice moves, but respectfully, we're way above that right now in this conversation.
But no, we're not, though, with all due respect. What did he do to support Kyle Whittingham?
Nothing.
And if you look at it, what did he do after Rick Majerus to support the basketball program? What did you do facilities-wise to help those guys recruit? What did you do training table-wise? What did you do equipment-wise? What did you do ribbon board-wise? You didn't do anything. You were taking money out, not putting money in. And that, to me, is why Utah is where they are. It should have, and I'll give Kyle Gunther all the credit in the world for this, it should not have taken that long to get Utah even to the mid-pack of the Pac-12. And Gunther used to say that all the time. That program should have grown more quickly. And all the talk about Kyle Whittingham, and I was in this boat as well, about firing Kyle Whittingham midway through was a huge mistake. But why did we have those conversations? Because Chris Hill did his best to damage that program by not doing his best to improve it. That's the bottom line. All right, I feel better now.
Good.
Zachary Thornton says, eat donuts. Oh, look, BYU 4-1 against Texas. I don't know what you mean. What am I missing? Scott Manfield says 6A can't work. Lone Peak basketball would embarrass the Utes. Stop. Oh, okay, here we go. And Donut says, oh, look, Boise State is 8-4 versus BYU since 2004. What's the point of that?
Well, who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Spencer Morgan says, definitely not preferable to the Big 12, but with the wider playoff field we see in basketball, teams like Gonzaga having been able to build elite programs from a nothing conference. So are you saying the Big 12's a nothing conference? I don't understand that take at all. Maybe I just misread that. Let's see. Eric and Raleigh says Pac-1 AA. Any school that stays in the Pac-12 is now a mid-major at best. I don't disagree with that at all. I don't. Spencer also says, I think once the playoffs expand, there will be an argument to be made for being in a conference like the Mountain West and just owning it every year. That could absolutely be. That's very well said. That could absolutely be. I think it is. That's a very interesting take. Josh Levern says, does Kansas basketball want to play Utah? Well, you shouldn't ask questions you don't want the answer to. You know what I'm saying? Sean Mirzinski says Utah is better than Cal and Stanford combined. I don't know about that. Lord Radin says your head is really going to explode when Cal and Stanford get invited to the Big Ten, isn't it? Could be. I think the Big Ten. Who wants to win? I mean, that's really what this is going to come down to. Who wants to win? If the Big 12 really wants to win, Brett Yorkman, you're on the job, dude, and the clock is ticking. Because this is the same mistake the Pac-10 made a year ago. When Carol Faust at USC killed expansion because I think she knew she was leaving. If you are the Big 12, you cannot sit here and just wait. You cannot spin. My hope is that you have agreements in place and we don't know about it. That's my hope. Yeah. Because I don't think there's any doubt. And I know that Utah fans and Pac-12 fans will disagree with me. The Pac-12 is shit. It's been shit. It's always going to be shit. It's not going to be a big power conference.
Come on, man.
If you are Utah, Colorado, the Arizona schools, San Diego State, and SMU, and you add that to the Big 12 is a power conference. You have Southern California. You own Texas for the most part. You can recruit that entire state now. And I know SMU, that little school, well, they're a great institution that makes fabulous lawyers, and they give you the entire Dallas TV market. And please don't roll up into the crib and say, oh, well, you've got Fort Worth. Dallas and Fort Worth are two different markets. They're different markets. And SMU is valuable. And San Diego State is valuable. So before we start looking down our nose, at everybody down there, maybe if you're in the Pac-12, you look up, because I just don't think the Pac-12 has any way to be like highfalutin, we, us, they. You need help. If you're the Pac-12, you need help just to survive. You need help. K-Do says, Kansas fan here. Who couldn't get jacked up for a KU-Arizona matchup? I think that would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
That would be, can you imagine? Like, and that's why you need, if you're the Big 12, you need Arizona.
Yeah, you need to add these schools.
Arizona makes perfect sense for the Big 12. Adding that basketball tradition, sweaty Sean Miller aside, adding that basketball tradition to your conference makes all the sense in the world. All the sense in the world. He also says, K-Do says, come on over, CU, Utah, Arizona State. Totally agree. Steve Peterson says, would they actually expand the playoffs to where they would allow a G5 school in? I don't believe they would expand to G5. They just expand to allow more P5s to keep the money in P5s. Well, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, look at Boise. Boise's interesting. Boise's tiny. Boise is tiny. Does the Big 12 have any interest in Boise State? I don't think they do.
No.
I really don't. I think if you're Boise State, you have to hope it's not a seizure. I just can't.
Right. You just don't want to say it the right way.
If you're Boise State,
Boise.
I just think you have to hope that you get into the Pac-12. Because I think you're a small school, period. And I think that's the way you're viewed. And I think you had your shot, and I think it didn't take you anywhere. I think that's why Chris Peterson wound up in Seattle at Washington. I think that's why that happened. Boise State is a lovely market. It's way overinflated real estate wise, but they have passionate fans, a great town to do business in.
Yeah.
I just don't think you ever wind up in a Power 5. Could be wrong. Could absolutely be wrong. Maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about. Day Old Donuts. Wow, Day Old Donuts, where you been?
Dale.
Let's go. LOL, Monty taking dumps on the Pac-12 today.
Well,
not particularly. Okay, thank you. Loke Man, LOC Man says the Big 12 does not want SMU. Okay, I think the Big 12 wants to win. That's what the Big 12 wants.
Yep.
And if you can have Lubbock and Houston and Fort Worth and Dallas, you're going to say no to that.
God bless.
I love this whole thing where conferences that are teetering with one foot in the grave, because that's where you are, Big 12. Take a look around. If you're the Big 12, you've got one foot in the grave. By the way, just curious, what happens if you lose a school? What happens if, I don't know, the Pac-10 poaches Houston? What happens if the SEC or the Big Ten says, hey, why don't you folks rocking them mullets in Stillwater come on over to Chicago or come on over to the SEC where we really play football? You're telling me that if the SEC comes calling for Okie State, they're saying no?
I'm going to go ahead and say they're going to say yes.
And then what happens to the Big 12? Just out of curiosity, how quickly does that death train roll into the grave?
Yeah, I know what time it is.
So it's awfully curious that Big 12 fans are like, oh, we, us, them, they. What do you mean they? You're no better than the Pac-12 right now.
Are you out of your goddamn mind?
One of you guys are like a couple of snipers playing Call of Duty.
Right.
Right? Like each of you is looking for the glitch so you can walk above the map and pop the other guy with a headshot.
I saw it.
Right? But neither one of you can shoot for shit. Like you're missing. Right? Like I'm just waiting for somebody, the Pac-12 or the Big 12, to actually play big boy politics and win the whole thing.
Right.
Because that's what's going to happen. I wish people understood. In the Big 12, you're no better. You're not us and they. You're us as in the Big 12 and the Pac-12. Because you're not playing for anything of note. So you won the Pac-12 championship last year, and that got you what? That got you beat by Ohio State, who everybody thinks is a better program. By the way, again, look at the year Baylor had last year.
Right.
They got you what? Look, Oklahoma. Everybody thinks the Big 12 is Oklahoma and Texas. By the way, they're not in the Big 12 anymore. Right? Like it's not us versus they. It's us versus us. Because those memes where it's me to me and it's Kermit looking at Kermit? Or
yeah, it's the hooded Kermit versus the regular Kermit.
That's you in the Pac-12, Big 12. That's you guys looking at each other. It drives me crazy. Like, who do you think you are? Like, do you know who you do you know who you are? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? If you're the Big 12, you're adding BYU, you're adding Cincinnati, you're adding Houston, you're adding the state of Florida to the conference.
Right.
And you're just chilling. Oh, Brett Yorkman starts on August 1st. We're coming to mess this up, yo.
Don't you know who I am?
Well, guess what? It's August 2nd, and what did you do? You still haven't done anything. The Big 12 needs to act.
Yeah.
The Pac-12 is dead. Kill them. Like, they're laying there. They're literally waiting for somebody to run up and hit them with a stem pen.
A stem pen.
Isn't that what the cool kids call it?
Where's the Italian?
Where you drop in with the parachutes and stuff?
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of that game ever.
Call of Duty Warzone?
Warzone.
Yeah.
Or whatever the other one was that we used to play all the time. What's the other game where you drop?
Oh, Fortnite.
Fortnite, thank you. I'm a terrible person. Anyway, Fortnite. Like you're like the Pac-12 just got shot in Fortnite and he's waiting for somebody to come save him.
And as you can see, there's not much hope for you left.
What are you doing? Anyway, I'll stop. I've probably gone too far at this point. Greg Hawkins says, I hate USC. Yes, don't we all? Logan Street says, like I said, not likely, but the only way the conferences stay long-term. Hello? Logan also said, waiting for the Pac-12 MGM partnership, given the commission's background. That could be.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
That could be.
How long are we going to talk a bunch of junk about TV deals and partnerships and all these awesome things that are in progress? When do we actually, get something done?
Yeah. I don't know. And donuts. I don't.
Why do we have so many donut references on the show? Now I want a donut.
I'm fat. And donuts says losing Texas and Okie is much more of a hit than SC and UCLA. Fact. Well, I guess, but who's in a better position to survive, the Big 12 or the Pac-12? I'm serious. The Pac-12 doesn't have a foot in the grave. Their coffin's in the grave. It's shut, and people are throwing shovels of dirt on it. Like, you're dead. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The Pac-12's lone hope is keeping UCLA.
Oof. That's rough.
I'm telling you, San Luis Technical Institute of Obispo ain't coming through that door.
Yeah.
Right? There's no other LA school to join to save you. UCLA leaves, you're dead. So if I'm the Big 12, I'm stomping on your throat.
Lidocaine and B12.
I just am.
Full speed ahead.
One round left says, Boise State.
Boise.
Exactly.
Boise.
Right. Let's see. Loke Band says SMU should be part of the Pac-12 last week. Pac-12 is not doing the right thing. They need to add teams now if they want to survive. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, you have to create a conference that matters. You have to create football games in a field that people are attracted to. That's the thing. And that's what I feel like. The Pac-12 has had good football, but they haven't had a way to show people. And now you're losing two dominant brands, if you will, and you still don't have a way to distribute your games. It's a recipe for disaster.
Jeremy Bolton says Boise State.
Boise.
I love that you guys are spelling it phonetically. Boise State. Academics is on par with Bishop Sycamore. No way.
For instance.
Bishop
Sycamore.
By the way,
yes.
What did Bishop Sycamore do that the Pac-12 is not?
Won games.
Got on ESPN, bro. Got on ESPN for all their games, bro.
I actually don't think Bishop Sycamore won games.
No, they didn't.
But they did get on ESPN.
They did get on ESPN.
That is very true. Brandon Whiteside says, you know what is super boring right now? Just talking about conference. I mean, so lame. Who gives a flying F what conference you're in?
Okay, next question.
Let's move on. Anyway, agree. I'm meaning the comment Utah going to the Mountain West and owning it every year and still going to the playoff. Well, there's something in that. I mean, if you are, that's not, I just can't
it's not
see
happening,
that. I
dude.
can't see that happening.
No.
Utah deserves better. You deserve what you've earned in this life, and Utah has earned a P5 dominant position. They're
a valuable brand.
Come on, y'all. They are.
Yeah.
Cam Harrison says, now I want a donut. Favorite donut.
Yeah, seriously.
In
Maple
the comments,
bar.
favorite
Maple bar. It's not even close.
Out of here
Maple
with
bar.
Maple
It's not
bar.
even close. Second is going to be an old fashioned, and third is a blueberry.
Guy, do you realize the things that you say? Like, I just asked you what. I just asked you what your favorite donut was.
Right.
And you said, you quite literally said, maple bar.
Yeah.
Maple
What's wrong
bar.
with a maple bar, bro?
Maple bar.
What is wrong with a maple bar?
Here, listen to who else likes maple bars. Nobody.
You're casual.
Nobody likes maple bar.
Well,
or at least nobody with balls.
I may be casual. I may not have any
Maple
balls,
bar.
but I like maple bars. What do you want
Good
from me?
Lord. All right, a couple more. Then we got to get to. Then we got to get to the NBA a little bit here. Dale Donuts again.
Dale, please.
Dale says Dale or Dale? Pam or Pan? Some media moguls think there will be too many Chiefs in the kitchen with the SEC and the Big Ten. How long until money is not going to be enough? Oh, I think we're there already. No money is enough. No money's enough. I mean, listen, the SEC is Nick Saban, Coach Saban.
Right.
The SEC, like, it's not, you know who that guy is? It's Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher's like, I wish I was Coach Saban.
This is Coach Saban.
Like, I mean, that's in all seriousness.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one guy in the SEC. It's Coach Saban.
This is Coach Saban.
Right? I mean, that's it. Nick Saban in Alabama run the SEC.
Yeah.
Well, now Georgia's trying to have a say in that. Right? Okay, well, Kirby, guess what? Yeah, you won. So now you get to have a say in that. Right? Jimbo Fisher is that guy. Dan Mullen tried to be that guy. It's Nick Saban in Alabama until it's not.
Right.
If I say to you, who's the best team in college football? Oh, Alabama.
This is Coach Saban.
Alabama.
Roll Tide.
So there are the haves and there are the have-nots. And if you're Utah right now, you're a have-not. Get to the Big 12. Win the Big 12. Run the table. Be an ass kicker. Then you can have your conversation.
Yeah.
And then you got to go. Well, you got to start by beating Florida. A month away. You got to beat Florida. All right. Talking with Raphael podcast. I like maple bars from Harmon's. Oh God. Stop. Don't. Raphael?
Who's next?
Raphael?
Who's next? Get in line. Let's go. I want a maple bar train here. Let's go.
No, you don't. Let's see. Colby says maple bars. How about Cougar Tails? Oh, the Wrapped. Is that a podcast about BYU Cougar Tails?
I was going to say, is that what is that a reference to there?
Yes.
Zach Wilson, everybody. Cougar Tails are amazing. They're like twisted, the chocolate and cake donut sugar thing. I like it. Lokeman says they still make maple bars.
Yes, dude.
He says they're good, though.
Come on.
Jim Yates says, I'd rather go independent than the Mountain West. Yes. John Jackson says, maple bars, I think my grandparents like those.
That's offensive, bro.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Giggity says, Zach Wilson's all about those Cougar Tails. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Josh Lover, maple bars with bacon on top. Oh.
Yes.
See, but that's like a bacon donut.
Oh, so now you're okay with maple bars.
Right, because it's not a maple bar. It's a bacon donut.
No, it's a maple bar with bacon on it.
No, it's a
You
bacon
have to
donut.
say that you like maple bars now.
No. What do I like? I like pancakes with bacon and syrup. That's what that is. It's a pancake with bacon and syrup. I know food. I'm fat. Robert Lambert says liking maple bars is at least a little bit pervy. Thank you. Here, little Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy. You want to try my maple bar? There's something wrong with you.
Bro, just because I like a donut.
Yes, that's correct. Kurt Meyer says West Virginia is the most disgruntled school from the Big 12, and they're crying to get out because they don't want to have teams in the conference in the East. Yeah, well, that was a cash grab. You know what I'm saying? And Donuts says networks are doing a preemptiness.
Okay.
Dale Donut says, I believe Cougar Tail is a maple bar. No, Cougar Tail is not a maple bar.
Yeah, it is.
No. Stop it. Steve Peterson says soaking Cougar Tails. Take it easy. Take it easy. Kanai Johnson says, are we really having a donut
I guess
conversation?
so, yeah.
Kanai Johnson says, glazed donut cut in half with sausage patty. Oh. Friends egg and fried egg and hash brown, melted cheese and bacon. Don't kick it till you try it. Love it.
Man.
Love it. Giggity says, Cougar Tails are diabetes sticks at BYU games. Yeah, pretty much.
Diabetes sticks.
Well, you can't eat the sugar. You just can't eat the sugar.
Right.
You can't. By the way, Logan, Utah needs a Chipotle.
And a Jack in the Box.
How is there not a Chipotle in Logan? I don't know. Maybe we just missed it. I have no idea. They have more manure than they have Chipotle.
Manure.
And Donut says networks are doing preemptive strike. Streaming is coming. I hope so. John Jackson says, I love Food Wars on the show.
Yeah.
Well, today is National Ice Cream Sandwich Day.
It is. Ice Cream Sando.